Alright, what's up guys? This is GreeceMonkey and this is the third version of my filtering setup at home. Probably not the last. But I'm just going to run you through it all quick. This is, well, I'll do a quick one then if you want to stay and listen to all the details. But here's where I strain, pump it up, and it comes into this box. This manifold allows me to select top or bottom barrel. Inside here it's a heated box and insulation everywhere, and two barrels. Both barrels are the same. I'll show you the top one. The top one actually has a sight gauge, the bottom one doesn't. Thermometer, entry point, and here's where the oil comes out that's ready to be centrifuged. Here's where my dirty oil can come out. Bottom's the exact same. From there it pumps underneath this platform through this pump up and into this barrel. This barrel here is what feeds my centrifuge. There's my heater, centrifuge, the barrel that catches my oil from the centrifuge. Then there's a pump right here that then pumps it through this filter that I had from my old setup, and a little testing port there, and then pumps outside my storage, which is like 330 gallons. And then here's the electrical panel for all this stuff on this side, and then here's the electrical panel for the heat on the inside of that tank. So what happens is, for more details, this is a plastic strainer. It's worked for about a year and a half, but I'm probably going to upgrade it to the one from Utah Supply, or Utah Diesel Supply. I forget the name of their company is, but they have a stainless steel one. This one's a 600 micron plastic. Once I'm done, I just take it outside, hose it from the back side, and then let it air dry. You can tell it's got lots of stuff in the food, some peanuts from the Thai restaurant and french fries and whatnot. The reason why I don't like the strainer is once it gets full and the bottom full of crumbs, you have to stick your hand in there, stir it around to get to go out, to empty out, versus the stainless steel one. It'll last longer because I don't have to worry about breaking like this one. I'm always nervous that the bottom mesh will crack. But it also has a stainless steel screen up the side. And so once the bottom gets clogged up, in theory, it should still go out the sides. I already did all the steps, so I'll show you the end results. There's oil post strainer, pretty disgusting. That's what your food's in. Yeah, don't eat fried food. Alright, so strain through there, and then this pump right here will then take it to the next step. Just a quick pointer on pumps. I always do, I use 1-inch PVC for everything, but I always do these little sections of rubber hose. It's kind of cool to see the color of it as it goes through the stages. All my pumps have it, but it's also good if a pump ever goes bad. You can just cut that plastic or that rubber hose there and put in a piece of rubber hose and still use the same, old fittings for your new pump. So it should be easy to switch those out. Learned that the hard way when I did all PVC everywhere and had to cut PVC and redo all those connections. So then it goes up, goes along this line, and dumps into here. At this manifold, I can open up either one for top or bottom tank. They're both already full. Again, on the inside of here, the top one has a sight gauge, so I can always tell about how full I get it. It's kind of hard to see. I'll see if I can use this insulation to reflect it. But I usually get about 4 inches from top. The bottom one, I did not put a sight gauge on. Might go back one day and do it, but the way I know I get to the right level on the top one, or on the bottom one, is whenever the oil is at the bottom of this screen, then I know that that amount of oil, that distance between the bottom of the screen and this outlet, is the amount that I want to put in that tank. So I'll fill it up to that screen, dump it into the bottom one, and then I'll fill up again. Top one I can choose the sight gauge. Over here on the heaters, these are already heating. I just did it. I have a timer and then 2 switches, top tank, bottom tank. And what happens here is I didn't have the timer on before, but those water heaters, I'll show you in a second, if you don't turn them off, after about 4 hours they get to about 110 degrees. If you don't turn them off, I left one for overnight and came out and it's about 340 degrees in there, so they'll just keep heating, so you don't want that to happen. So I put a timer on there as a backup. It'd still come out and try to turn them off within 4 hours. You can check the temperature in there, and once they're at temperature, I'll turn them off. But that's just an extra check. A little more detail on the inside. So they each have these thermometers. There's a top one, And then down here on the bottom one, it's inside there. Those are just meat thermometers. Got them at Harbor Freight for like $3. Drill a hole and then do some JB weld on them. And had no problems with leaking, and pretty good accurate gauge. The gauge itself goes up to 220 degrees. On these tanks, I'll get them, excuse me, I got a cold. I'll get these up to anywhere from 110 to 140, and then I'll turn off the heaters. No need to like keep heating them once you get them to the temperature you want, because you're circulating that oil in there. Once they get up to temperature, then I flip them off and let them set with this door closed. I did a rubber weather seal on there and extra wraps insulation. Doors insulated as well, and it'll actually hold temperature at 140 degrees, and to get down to like 70 degrees takes about 2 to 3 days in this box. And then once they get down to outside temperature, I'll usually let them set for an extra day, and then they're ready to go to the centrifuge. If I don't need the oil right away, then I'll go ahead and let them stay in here as long as possible. The longer they stay in the actual barrels, then the better it is. So I'll let them sit in here sometimes for 2 weeks if I don't need the oil. And if I have more oil coming in, need the space, and I'm going to pump them out. But the longer you keep them in here, the better. And then the heaters are just water heater elements, and it's kind of hard to see, but I screwed I welded on a 1-inch black steel iron coupler, and then screwed the water heater element into that, and those work pretty awesome. Each of these have 2 outlets. The one that goes to the centrifuge, which would be this one, and then the drain, and they actually tee into each other, and I'll explain that in a second. So let me lock this back up, and so what happens is I have my switch panel here, heat and settle pump, filter pump. I'll go over that in a second, but heat and settle pump is this one right here, and it takes from underneath this platform and pumps up. If I need to drain out the bottom of those tanks, which you need to every 500 gallons or so, whatever you think it is, how dirty your oil is, then that's why I have these 2 valves for. I'll actually close this one off, and I can open this and pump straight from those tanks using the same pump into like a 5-gallon bucket and dispose of it. And then if you do that, always flush the lines back out with clean oil from the second valve, the top valve, to empty this line out of all the dirty before you reopen this one. That way you don't nurse the water and nasty trash oil into your top tank. So I turned that switch on, which I've already filled this up, so I don't want to do it right now. Just got ready for this video, and that would be the heat and settle pump. Fill it up. Once this is up to, I'll usually do like 55 gallons, because it'll actually go through the centrifuge back into this drum. That way, if for some reason the centrifuge turns off, it can still go into that one. I'll explain how that works in a second. Right now there's already some down there because I'm home processing all day. So fun sock up there just to keep it from, it started leaking out a little bit, filled it too high one day. And then up top, I don't know what your ceiling is, but it's an open top barrel, and so I put board up there just to keep like this drywall stuff from falling in there. Alright, so the next up is the centrifuge. Right now I'm using the pump, or the centrifuge. It's called Raw Power from WVO Designs, and I like it a lot more than the old one I was using, which was this B1. But that one worked great too. These are really nice. I have the filter cone in there. I like it a lot. So tricks with the heater. This is just a bunch of 1.5 inch cast pipe, and there's a T back here, and then on the other side of this T is the water heater element. This red thing screwed into there, and then also a thermostat. They use some baling wire around and have that set to 150. So once that tube gets 150, the oil inside should be, I'd say well over 100, which is enough to go in the centrifuge. It's not real accurate since it's actually measuring the outside temperature of the tube, so it can cool down. But if it drops below, even if it gets down to like 140 on the tube, the oil inside is still pretty hot. And I also hooked this light bulb here with it too, so I'll show you that in a second. Tricks to doing your heater is you want the outlet of the heater, which is back here, to be higher or lower than the outlet of your tank, and that allows it to always stay full of oil. You don't ever want to run these dry. I put this loop in here and brought it in the bottom. That way I don't have to, this will never see heat. The heat will actually only go to pretty much about the bottom of this. Usually you can touch all this and it's fine. This will get a little hot to touch. Once you get the heater elements runs, right in the middle of this, so up here will be smoking hot. You can't touch it. Right here is fine. I put, to attach this to this board, I put I think it's like a 1" by 1/4" piece of aluminum that I drilled holes in and screwed in that 2x4, and then just hose clamps around it, and then through the back side of the aluminum to attach it. These bulkhead fittings are real nice. You can get them at Tractor Supply. They're only like $4 or $5. They don't leak at all. I love them. I think that's it on the heater. Then on right here's a valve. I have this taken off because it gets so hot to touch. But I can set it on here and adjust my flow. I go for 8 gallons an hour, which is kind of standard what everybody does. On my centrifuge, this has 2 ports. One's the clean oil coming out, which is this one, and back there is the dirty oil once you turn the centrifuge off. When you turn it off, there's a T right there. One goes down, hole in it, and drains down to this barrel. There's a bucket, and this bucket has a bulkhead fitting, same one from Tractor Supply on it. So what happens is it'll drain down there. If it does for some reason fill up, or if my centrifuge turns off, then it's the biggest fear of centrifuges is if the power goes out, then all the oil that you have in this tank will just go through the dirty line, and that bucket would fill up. So what I did is I put a T on here, and once that bucket fills up, it will actually fill up that entire line, and then it'll start just overflowing into this tank. So that would stink because I'd have to reprocess all the oil in this tank, but at least it wouldn't go all over my floor like has happened in the past. And then this line right here is so I can test the flow of the oil. So I just open this up. I have this bulge right here. It's marked for every 4 ounces. 15 seconds to 4 ounces will get you about 8 gallons an hour. So once I get that real close, I'm going to check a total of 8 ounces for 30 seconds. Got this sweet watch on a 2x4 that my niece gave me for Christmas like 2 years ago. Works perfect. Here's my friend. He keeps all the mice away. And that is a centrifuge. Once it goes out of the centrifuge into here, it just drains in there. Then I have an extra pump down here, and this pumps it up and into this canister filter. This will, the centrifuge will get everything that's heavier in the oil. So in theory, you could have stuff that is lighter than the oil still in there, still mixed in with your clean oil. So in theory, worst case scenario, this is kind of like a polishing filter. This is set to 1 micron absolute, and it'll get the rest out. I haven't changed this in over 1,000 gallons. I'm not even sure it does much, but I already had it for my last setup, so I left it on. If you're building this new, I wouldn't worry about this whole stage. I would just pump it. You might still want to do the circulation, this extra pump here, and a line. So what I do is I'll actually pump it through here, and I'll run it through this filter, and it comes out of the filter, up this line. I can open this port up right here and get a sample of it. So I'll actually fill this up. And then I got this hot pan I just got from like Target, and a cast iron pan. Heat this up hot. Hot pan test, you basically heat it up super hot, put a smear of oil on it. When it starts smoking, it's good. And then you pour about a quarter size on it. And if it's bubbling, then you know it's bad. If you have any bubbles, it's bad. Oh, with this setup, I haven't had any bad at all. And when it filters through this filter, come through this test line, well, it also will go down and back into the same tank. So it's kind of just circulating it. So I'll leave it here, and I'll get 1 sample, and then I'll wait about 5 more minutes, and I'll get another sample. So that allows me to get like 2 even samples throughout there. Once I hot pan test it, then all I got to do is close this valve off. I turn the pump off first, close that valve, and then I can bring it over and open this valve right here. And when this valve is open, it pumps outside my house, through this PVC pipe and down to this, which is a 330 gallon tank. So that's pretty much it. I'll show you how I set the flow now. So it's just pipe pump, that's the heater. When I flip that on, you'll see the light switch on. So now it's heating up the oil, and then the centrifuge pump, or centrifuge power. Then I come over here. Right now it's heating it up. I'll usually let this go until it gets all the oil in that canister up to 150. You have to crack it a little bit. Sometimes we'll get air in there, that way it moves the oil slowly. But it's going to fill up this bowl inside there. I can't really show you the inside of it right now. I think I should have that in another video on my YouTube. And just for the sake of this, I'll do it real fast. Actually, I'll just pause. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. The bowl filled up inside there. It's still heating. You can see the oil coming out. And then what I'll do is I'll squat down here and I'll see like these little notches on this, or every 4 ounces. Once it hits the line, I'll look at my clock and I'll keep adjusting this flow up here until I get to the right level. Once I get to the right level, then I'll usually leave this valve open. I got this little bungee cord, and I'll hook onto it, and I'll turn it up. Once it's turned up, then it goes down into the tank. The reason why I leave it open is just for the sake of venting that line, because it gets hot inside there, and it might be cold, so you can actually get condensation. Not sure it's a big deal either way, to be honest. And I can show you the testing, what I do real quick. So I turn on filter pump, which is this one down here, and it's taken from this drum up to this canister and pumping down into this guy. Can't really see it too well, but it's basically just circulating it through this filter now. And then what I can do is I can take this, and I don't know if I can do this with 2 hands or not. And I'll turn this, I didn't glue this one on tight, so I can turn it down. And then if I open up this line just a tad, it allows me to get a sample out of there. And then once I get the sample, I'll just turn this back up. And that sample right there is what I'll use for my hot pan test. And you saw how dirty the oil was on the other side. And here's what it looks like after the centrifuge. It's pretty much good as new. And I think that's about it. I did all this in a little 1-car garage. It's pretty small. My thermostat just turned off, so the light turned off. And I have my power tool station and all my filtering, toolbox, big workbench I built, and then all my stuff in storage. And down there's my air compressor and some cabinets. So this actual footprint of this is about, I'd say, 7 foot by 3 foot. So it's a lot of stuff in a little amount of space. I can do 50 gallons or 100 gallons every about 4 to 5 days. It's all based off the heat and settling basically. So in theory I could do 200 gallons a week out of my garage for the most part. And there's my Jeep. Alright, that's pretty much it. I will talk to you guys later. Actually, I'll show you these two. These are my collection barrels, inspired by clay. I painted them with green top, put a lock on them, and this is what I pick up the oil from in the restaurants. This one that's going out to a restaurant next week. And so use that, and I pump it with this beast of a pump right here. And set that next to the on a little wood stand I built next to the tank, and it'll suction out of the 55 gallons. It'll do it in about 2 minutes, and I pump it through a bunch of hose, which is right here, and I can pump it all the way out to my truck. I have these fittings on all my hose. I have about 100 foot of hose. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. GreeceMonkey on the biofuels forums, biofuels technology forums, or you can just comment on the YouTube and I'll try to get back to you on there.